Happy Wednesday, everybody. My name is Scott Morganroth, Motor City Badmouth. This is the Sports Exchange, and we have a brand new person on tonight, new guest. His name is Robert Butler from the Real Sports Scope. Welcome to the broadcast.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
I met Robert through a mutual friend, Ralph Williams, and now Robert's returning the favor and coming on our show. And, of course, to my right, to his right, George Eichhorn.
Hi, good to be back on the show, Scott. Looking forward to it tonight.
And last but not least, Candy. Welcome back, Candy.
Thank you. Great to be here. Great to talk some sports with you, gentlemen.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to get through it here, and we're going to talk about the SEC tonight. We're going to talk about the ACC, and we're going to talk about the in-season tournament championship and revisiting Monty Williams. With that said, parting shots, time permitting. All right, so starting off with Texas moving to the SEC, which school would you consider as a real UT, Texas or Tennessee, Robert?
You know, if I didn't do any research on this, I would assume it would have been Texas. You know, bigger state, everything's bigger in Texas. But after just doing a few Google searches and reading about this prior to you even asking that question, because it's been the talk, you know, since they had the SEC media days and whatnot, that the University of Tennessee was established 51 years before Texas even became a state. So technically this color orange, not burnt orange, the light orange, is the real UT. Now I call balls and strikes, nonpartisan. I still think they're probably a better program right now. You know, they were in the playoffs last year. They've won a national championship sooner than Tennessee. Football-wise, it was in 05-06 with Vince Young. Tennessee, the University of Tennessee won back in 98. So Texas, better program, but Tennessee is the real UT. Okay. So I guess the real UT should stand up, the way the NMM song said.
Okay, George, what are your thoughts?
Texas is one of the schools that I've always admired. I mean, you know, back in the day when we had Texas against Oklahoma and we had, Chris Schenkel, and then we had Keith Jackson calling it. And that was always one of the top matchups on ABC. I'm telling you, every year, that Texas-Oklahoma game. Tennessee, great tradition too, though. I mean, I agree that they're steeped in tradition. Tennessee's a good team. They've been a good team off and on, maybe not as frequently as Texas has, but I still would put Texas number one in my mind because of all the interest and all of the fandom and all of the excitement that you see. College football, obviously, everybody's got their own level of color and drama and all that on campuses and that, but Texas has always been one of the top teams for me. Like I said, even going back to my childhood when I was real young and just a teenager watching it, and back in the day, of course, as you know, Scott, and this was when ABC just did like one or two games on Saturday, and that was about all you're able to see of college football. Now everybody can see every game now, but no, I tell you what, Texas is going to be my choice on this one.
What about you, Candy?
I think it really comes down to the sport, because I think we think of Texas and we think of football and the big guys. And I think when we think of Tennessee, we think of more basketball and being more of a powerhouse. So I think it's really interesting that Tennessee was so far founded way earlier that you brought to life, Robert. But everything is bigger in Texas. Like, let's just face it. So, like, is the T bigger in Texas? Because, I mean, when they joined as far as their big move, like, it was so big that on campus they celebrated with carnivals, live music, and fireworks. Like, this is a big thing for them. They do everything bigger. So, is it a bigger T and Tennessee's a smaller T?
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's they got a lot more money. I would say that Texas is just – I'm surprised that Texas hasn't won more. And maybe that's why A&M and Texas with the oil money and whatnot, the endowment money, that they went through coach after coach. By the way, the last coach that won a national championship with them was a Tennessee native. And his name slips my mind right now, but he's the current coach of Carolina.
You talk about Mac Brown.
Mac Brown. Yeah, Mac Brown.
Oh, I wasn't letting you go on this show without wondering what that was. That's painful.
Mac Brown from Cookeville, Tennessee, did win a national championship with Texas, but the program got a little stale post Vince Young, and but they're bouncing back. If I had to pick they're one of the powers to win a national championship this year. I got 3 right now, guys, folks. Texas, Ohio State, Georgia. Now that may change. I've got my Phil Steele magazine, the football Bible. I haven't went through the football Bible yet. But coming in as of July the 24th, I wouldn't put Tennessee. I'm in Tennessee, folks. I wouldn't put Tennessee in that hunt, but I would put Texas, led by Quinn Ewers. And, of course, you got Arch Manning on the sitting back there pushing him with that really good, talented core of players there. I'm sure they're going to be a top 5 in the AP poll when it comes out here in the next month or so.
Well, the reality of the situation is this. I do believe that Texas should be the real UT, but the SEC has a different opinion, and they're the ones that are going to address it. So according to the SEC, they're going to call Tennessee UT, and they're going to call Texas TEX as in Tex.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what they're going to do. But I don't know. I'm a Longhorns guy, too. I am. And I've visited that campus, never been to a game. Would love to go. And, of course, we all know Tennessee has been in the SEC longer. So, yeah, they're going to give their old SEC the old UT and the new kid on the block, Tex. Now, here's an interesting thing to note, though. When Texas takes on Michigan this year, can you believe that it will be an SEC versus Big Ten matchup?
Yeah.
Who would have thought
that? Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. Who would have thought? Texas against Michigan, the SEC, and the Big Ten. But the SEC has final say. We don't. They say UT is Tennessee, and Tex, the new kid on the block, is TEX. All right, let's continue on with the college football theme. Cal, Stanford, and SMU in the ACC. This should be quite interesting in football and other sports geographically and financially, though SMU will not get conference revenue for 9 years. So I guess we'll lead off with you again, Robert, okay? Your thoughts about Cal, Stanford, and SMU in the ACC.
Yeah, that is wild, isn't it? I mean, You got a West Coast team playing in the East Coast Conference. That being said, the Pac-12, if they had more interest, if they had more eyeballs, I understand, or I would love to go to Beaver State. Love to see the Ducks play. They look on TV, it looks like a tough place to play, but the Pac-12 traditionally, and you hear West Coast people say, this is not my opinion. It wasn't that much interest. It would have never broken up. It would have never broken up if the eyeballs were there, if the revenue was there. You're in the East Coast. I hate watching games at 10 o'clock at night, but you have to appease the West Coast, and my air quotes there. So, hey, money drives this. This is a TV product. They fly charter. I think everything's going to be okay. Now, as far as them getting paid, I think that's ludicrous. I don't know what that's all about. Right. Not getting paid by the SMU. What's that all about there, Scott?
Well, what's really all about is, SMU wanted to build their brand in a Power 5 conference. Okay. They were rejected by the Big 12 on a few occasions. And since everybody knows SMU has big money in Texas with boosters or whatever, and we all know Dallas is filled with oil money. They figured, you know what? All those boosters there said, don't worry, we'll finance the program for 9 years, but you get to play in a Power 4 conference now. And that's exactly, Robert, the mindset behind why SMU is in this conference.
Oh, that's right. They got the death penalty in the 80s.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I enjoy watching those documentaries. They didn't like them.
That's good. Greg James.
Well, that's true. But the bottom line is they wouldn't have been nailed with the death penalty with the way the current college things are going. But we won't get into that tonight.
Yeah. So I forgot they had their own money and they was doing all that. So
They got Dallas oil booster money. Don't
Yeah.
worry. They can ride it out 9 years, play all the big boys, and we don't care. And they're going to find a way to pack those stadiums when they go down to Dallas anyways. It won't matter. All the money will wash. At least SMU is in a Power 4 conference, and nobody can sit there and say they won't qualify for if they become as good as they can. Bear in mind that andyenfield was hired from USC to go ahead and coach their basketball program. I don't know if you knew this or not, but he did. Was lured from USC over to SMU. And
SMU's coming back to life.
Well, they're showing
It's
that thing called money.
Slowly. Yeah.
Money walks and money talks, and they're doing both. All right, George Eichhorn.
Well, I don't know. You guys have talked a lot about this already, but I'm looking at Stanford's schedule. Stanford gets 2 home games to start the season, TCU and Cal Poly, and then they make their first trip across the country to Syracuse, New York in game 3. That's the Stanford Cardinal. They got SMU at home. So SMU's got to go to Stanford this year, and it's going to be a tough schedule. I think for both Stanford and SMU, all these teams changing these conferences, we're going to see a feeling out process. We're going to see an adjustment process going on here in all these conferences where we've had a lot of topsy-turvy turnovers and new teams, coming in line. So it's going to be interesting. And you're spot on, Scott. Of course, they got that Dallas money at SMU and that death penalty still from way, way, way back. I remember, yeah. But it'll be very interesting because, these teams are not used to this kind of travel. You mentioned California, too. I didn't mean to omit California, Cal. Right, they're part of it as well. So it's going to be, it's going to be fun to watch all this stuff play out. And again, like I said, it's going to be over a couple 2-3 years at least, or maybe even longer. But these conferences are so big right now. And the power conferences have got so many changes. It's going to be fun to watch. It really is. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, we have this actually is a fun chat from Joshua Dorr, one of our regulars. Did Robert come back from a funeral? Sorry for your loss. I think he's the first guy that's ever worn a tie on here, now that I think about it.
Yeah, well, I just got done doing my show, and I just jumped right on and do your show,
Oh, there you go, the man with the tie. All right, we'll put a bow on this with Candy Ebeling. Go ahead.
Cal and Stanford each end up with 3 trips to the Eastern time zone in their first league slate.
Very
the
good.
Bears visit Florida State, Pittsburgh, and Wake Forest, while the Cardinals will face Syracuse, Clemson, and North Carolina State. And that means changing their normal routines because they would normally arrive for a game the day before kickoff. Instead, both Taylor and Cal coach Justin Wilcox both said they'd travel on Thursdays to give extra acclimation time. They also added that the Bears would get the biggest plane that Delta makes with lie-down seating. We have our strength and conditioning staff. They'll be doing little exercises. They'll get them up during the trip. They'll also be utilizing the time for film study or schoolwork. It's going to be that kind of a thing. So they've already started planning. They're already trying to figure out how they're going to make all these extra trips, the length of time it's going to take them. Is it? And then they also said this kind of gears them up for the NFL because the NFL, they travel cross country. So it starts to get them into that, acclimated to that kind of experience. So where it might be very expensive, it might not be ideal, but it does give them a little bit of idea of like what it is to play in the NFL and how they have to, acclimate and change up their schedule and be able to do that and still play, like you said, if you're sitting on the plane and you're watching game film, that's perfect time. Like they can really make use of their time depending on what time their flight and everything is.
Yeah, the reality is, here, Joshua Dorr, Scott, you should change the dress code. Sanders, Mitch Roberts, Sanders. Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll get no guests at that point because he's the only one that ever wants to wear a tie. Hey, I don't get me wrong. You look great, Robert. I
appreciate it.
Can't remember the last time I wore a tie. I'll close this topic this way. Covering the Miami Hurricanes, there are at least 3 more schools I can see. And, they all have pretty good traditions. Stanford, Cal, and SMU is always a wild card there because, how much money that floating around in Dallas.
Yeah.
All right, Candy, let's go to a station break.
Okay, if you are watching us, our show is brought to you by the South Florida Tribune Publishing Company, which published a book last November. It's called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by none other than our host, Scott Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. You can get your copy on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple or Google Books. We also have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see the writings of George Eichhorn, Scott Morganroth. I take pictures, they're there. Transcripts from the Dolphins, the Jags, the Lions, and a lot of our local colleges like the Florida Gators, Miami Hurricanes, USF Bulls, Florida Owls. Go to our website, check it out. We also have a store on there where you can buy merchandise. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt or a hat or a sweatshirt, go to our website, check us out. If you like to listen to podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. Monday nights, we're talking baseball. Tuesday nights, we're talking football. Wednesday and Thursday nights, you just never know what we're going to be talking about. It can be anything from NFL to cornhole. You name it, we talk about it. And if you want to check out our social media, Twitter is @Tribune South. Back to you, Scott.
Well done, Candy. All right, well, let's talk about NBA, but I'm looking for a laughable topic, and I found the right one. The in-season tournament champions belong to the Los Angeles Lakers. They lead the Lakers lead the Celtics 1-0 in the in-season tournament championship, and I can't believe they actually put a banner, as I heard. So, I mean, that to me just blows me away. All right, Robert, what do you think about this in-season tournament? The Lakers 1-0. Can't put an asterisk next to it, but
jeanniebuss, she's got she wants to kind of get everybody's mind off of LeBron kind of calling the shots there, bringing his son in, bringing his coach in. He's got a couch move. He's moved into the arena. It's got LeBron. No, I made that last part up. I kid. Might as well, though, right?
Right.
But I tell you what, I like the in-season tournament. It's done early in the season. It does get your attention. And I thought the older teams, LeBron and Anthony Davis could probably win this thing. And sure enough, they end up winning the thing. But as a regular 7-game series, these older teams, particularly your Lakers of the world, they kind of wear down. Reality starts to set in. I'm okay with it. I'm not sure about putting up banners for something like that, but go figure. I guess if you want to celebrate something, that's news to me that they put a banner in for that. But I'm actually a bigger fan of the play-in tournament, where you've got 7 through 10 deciding who's going to make the playoffs for those final 7 and 8 seeds. I love the drama. You've had Golden State lately. That same Laker team was in it. Who was it? The Pelicans. So you've got a lot of star power there leading up. It really sets up the April playoff and gets you gassed up for the playoffs, in my opinion. So bigger fan of the play-in game rather than the in-season tournament. But I thought both of them will be a disaster, and they're both actually watchable, in my opinion.
That's okay. That's fine. George, go ahead.
Yeah, that's laughable to me about the Lakers. I mean, come on. I wasn't in for that tournament at all, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to be in this year either. I just don't see it, and especially when you got teams that are not in the fray, so to speak. But the Pistons, of course, being in Detroit, had a terrible season, as we know. But the Lakers, come on, that's a huge stretch to say I'm going to put a banner up for that. The banner that matters is this one: Boston 106, Dallas 88. Boston 4 wins, Mavericks 1, game, set, match, over. NBA championship banner returns to Boston, and that's the one that really matters. Okay, but the Lakers are typical of big money team like that. They want to try to salvage something out of what turned out to be a disaster of a year for them. But Robert, I'll give you that one on the play-in at the end of the season. Yeah, because what it does, it's like the wild card in baseball.
Right.
It's keeping more interest in that sport, in the excitement going down the stretch, putting more fannies in the seats, yes, but it also has a enduring factor for us watching on television, because 2 teams, 3 teams, 4 teams are vying for this last 1 or 2 positions. No, I'm in for that. I do like that. I think the NBA was smart on that move. I'm just not a buyer of the in-season tournament at all.
Okay, I'll make it very simple. Number one, Darvinham didn't keep his job because of it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's all. So, but Darvinham ended up in a good place back with Milwaukee, so he can help Doc Rivers save his job. Okay, number 2, I think that the NBA in-season tournament is a gaffe. Okay, it is a gaffe, a gimmick. If I ever saw one, playing is a different story, because, like George alluded to, like the wild card, there's some urgency on both ends. So, I mean, if they want to put a banner like that, it's like the bowl system. Let's give everybody a participation trophy for just showing up. I mean, give me a break. Really? But all right. But then again, they drafted Bronny James, so the Lakers feel that they have a 1-0 advantage over the Celtics. Trust me, Danny Ainge and Red Auerbach would say, no problem. We can handle that one. All right, Ken, you got the last word on this.
The tournament will be divided into 6 pools with 5 teams apiece, and pools will consist of teams within the same conference, but not necessarily the same division. Teams will play 4 group games, matching up with each team in their pool once, with winners advancing to a single elimination stage. Anytime you do some single elimination, I mean, that's the same thing. I guess that's the same thing the NFL does. They have a single elimination, but for it to be an in-season tournament and you define who is going to be the pool that you're going to be in will have a significant impact on I think who wins and who doesn't, because it's not the same as just your division. They're talking about in your conference. So depending on which teams you originally start with, and you only get 1 game, you lose that game, boom, you're done. And I think that banner doesn't mean much. Just like we've said on this show, one of the hardest trophies to win is the Stanley Cup, and it's a grueling season. I think anytime you go through a longer season and not this quick short, this one means nothing. The actual finals mean more.
Okay. All right. Final regular topic. We'll go to parting shots. Has anyone been paid more to do less? Monty Williams will earn $78 million for his 1 season coaching the Detroit Pistons to do a league worth $14-68. And their new coach, JB Bickerstaff, has only one way to go, and that's up. Once again, Robert, we'll lead it off with you.
Yeah, Monty Williams. You wonder why guys like that keep getting job after job, like Stan Van Gundy. And the truth of the matter is that it's such a player-driven league now, going all the way back. Now, I know it goes way back 40, 50 years, going back to Magic and that era. But if you think about, say, about 15 years ago, with a guy like a Kobe Bryant telling his coaches that he's going to check in when he wants to check in. Your Mike D'Antoni's of the world. I'll check in the game and LeBron James publicly saying that David Blatt drew up a play. I better pass the ball to myself because I'm not going to shoot that shot. Embarrassing these coaches. You see teams going out and hiring these more passive Monty Williams type of coaches here. And look at the last few champions, teams that are your Bostons of the world, your Golden States of the world, teams that are team oriented, except some type of coaching there instead of super teams, guys trying to tell the coaches what to do. Your LeBrons of the world, going back to the Kobe Bryant. That's why you got it. And maybe, just maybe, with the USA basketball team, who they almost lose to the other day. Was it Sudan or somebody?
Yeah, Sudan, correct.
Yeah. The world is catching up. Maybe we'll reverse that at some point, where you can bring some type of coaching back to the league where Nothing against Monty Williams, but he's probably not head coaching material, probably not head coaching material. But that's why you've got that, because they're afraid to go out and hire a guy from college. We saw what Dan Hurley did. He took less money and stayed in Connecticut.
Yeah, that's true.
So
That's true.
the player thing, maybe it'll get corrected, in my opinion. But I'm an optimist. We'll see.
Well, JB Bickerstaff looks like a good hire anyways. He led the Cavaliers for a couple of championships.
Yes. Donovan Mitchell didn't
Not
like him.
championship, but yeah, he actually got into the playoffs the last 2 years. So.
Yeah.
Let's go to the chat room real quick. We got Walter Mitchell. Can we eliminate those awful court for that dumb tournament? Cheers there. I don't drink, but I would say cheers to that all day long. I read Cade. Wanted Monty gone. Be careful what you ask for. You just did. Magic coach was Paul Westhead. That's why Pat Riley got the job. Yeah, you're so right.
Remember that?
Yeah, no. In fact, there are times when a coaching change is necessary, and apparently this was the case. All right, George, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, Monty Williams, here's the deal. You look back on the when the Suns, the Phoenix Suns, of course, is where he really made his headway as a coach. And, in July of 2022, now that's not that long ago, folks. July of 2022, the Suns signed Williams to a multi-year contract extension. Guess how long that lasted? He got a big extension from the Suns, July of 22. By May of 23, they fired his butt because he lost to Denver in the Western Conference semifinals. So that multi-year extension, you guys, he's counting his dollars. So who comes along but the Detroit Pistons? And the Pistons, after only 1 month less than a month out of a job, the Pistons on June 2nd of 23, of course, give him a very lengthy contract and wealthy contract, as we know. And as Scott has told you, 5 years, $65 million remaining. He got fired after 1 year in Detroit. It's a real unusual situation. This doesn't happen all the time with head coaches. But what I do notice is, especially in the NBA, these coaches recycle rather quickly.
Yeah.
But Monty's going to have a tough time recycling after this one, because not only was he let go by a good team, the Suns, but then he was let go by a team that had put their trust in him to get him out of the doldrums. And what happened? They had their worst year in history, the Pistons.
Yeah, but he's getting paid good money to do it. So all I can say, George, is give me his agent. That's all I can tell you.
I know. And you're right, Scott. And I do agree with you,
Kirk
Scott.
Cousins' agent, guys.
I do, yeah. And I think Bickerstaff will do well. I admired his dad as a coach, and I admire him as a coach. So that's what I got to say.
Let's go to Walter Mitchell. He's got a good one at Robert Butler. It's not the NBA coaches. It starts with the lack of accountability in AAU circuit. Boy, I'll tell you, he's really on target with that one, Walter. Good stuff. Okay. All right, Candy, go ahead.
I wish I could get paid how many millions of dollars a year to sit at home. As we think about things, we look at scouts and we say, did the scout draft well? Did this GM draft well? Well, did the owner pick the right coaching staff or the right head coach to coach his team? That for the staff that he has, let's face it, you as any coach, you go into a situation and you have so many players on your team already. You're not going to you don't get to start your own team or anything like that and get the players that you want. So as a GM, you have to think about the players that you have on your team and who's going to be the best person to coach them. And you need to know that team. So as a young team, like the Pistons, a lot of young players, you need to have somebody that's tough that can, go in there and say, this is what we need to do. This has worked before, and put your foot down. And obviously Monty wasn't that kind of guy. And like Robert, you alluded to, that we don't have some of those tough coaches in the league anymore. And I think that's because in today's society, nobody wants to be told what to do. They want to, oh, just help me. Don't coach me. Don't discipline me. There shouldn't be consequences for my actions. Like, let me do what I want to do. And I think it's not just NBA, it's everybody. And that's where we're starting to fall and see a decline, because as a coach, you're supposed to respect your coach. You're supposed to respect them. And granted, they're supposed to earn your respect. But, hey, Monty's going to sit at home now and make how many millions of dollars?
Yeah.
He's going to be like the body beneath.
Lots and lots.
Yeah, he's not going to have any problem feeding his family. Or I have something I want to add to about Walter's comment. Remember, Monty turned down the job at First Scores, came back, gave Godfather up. Yeah, he did. That's why he's a lot smarter than most getting that money. The last significant hire that the Pistons made from Cleveland into coaching and was when they brought in chuckdaly from Cleveland, and we all know how that worked out.
Yes,
I'm not going to compare JB Bickerstaff to that, but I will say this about JB, though, is he has a brand new coaching staff, a brand new front office, so they clean house all the way, got more experts in there to try to get them better players. And, Tom Gores is probably tired of losing, getting criticized. So I have a feeling he's going to make out all right there. So chuckdaly was the last significant hire that the Pistons made from Cleveland. For a lot of millennials that don't remember, that's why you have Google. All right, so what we do here is we do a segment called Parting Shots. And since we have time to get Roberts in, go ahead and lead off. It's an opportunity to get something off your chest that you'd want to go out there and talk about.
Let's see. I tell you what, the NFL running backs are turning into a bargain, folks. I've been watching this Hard Knocks on HBO with the Giants and the back and forth with the Saquon Barkley. And I thought to myself, well, he was overdrafted at number 2. They should have probably moved off of him last year. And then I got to look at guys like Justin Jefferson of the Minnesota Vikings salary, $34 million a year for Jefferson, $30 million for a Tyreek Hill. CeeDee Lamb's currently holding out for Dallas, by the way. He's wanting 32 million. He's wanting right up there with Jefferson. And you've gotten guys like Christian McCaffrey at 19, Saquon Barkley, a dual threat guy, a runner and a catcher, for 12.5. Our running backs, they've become devalued so much that they're bargains now. And especially the guys, I'm talking second contract. I'm not talking post 30 guys.
Right.
Second contract. I thought when the 49ers took on Christian McCaffrey, I thought, wow, Carolina's really coming out. But with the right system, these dual threat guys, they're really a bargain. I think that they should be looked at now a little bit different than, say, just a few years ago. And quite frankly, a few months ago, when you start to really look, these are inflated wide receiver salaries, folks. You just wonder when it's ever going to stop with these receivers. I guess when somebody pays 2 of them, like Miami or Dolphins there, they got Waddle to spree up too, didn't he, down there? So, and Tyreek Hill wants another contract, by the way. He's had another kid. So we'll see how that plays out. So show the running backs that you think deserve the love. There's still a good deal at 12 to 15 million if they can pass and run the ball, I think, in my opinion.
All right. Robert, while we have a chance as we continue to wrap up the show, we got about 8-9 minutes to go anyways. Why don't you let everybody know how they get a hold of you and the type of shows that you have as well?
Yeah, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, the Real Sports Scope. I talk about national sports trending topics, whether it be the NFL, college football, the NBA. Don't get it too much into hockey and baseball. But if there's a big story, particularly in baseball, like the Shohei Ohtani story with the gambling scandal, I'll dabble into that, and I'll dabble into some of the sports media news as well. It's called the Real Sports Scope. You can find it on the X app, anywhere you get your podcast, and of course the YouTube channel.
Well done. Okay. Well,
Thanks.
I'm glad.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to have you on. All right, George, what's your parting shot? By the way, before you do that, let's go to Walter Mitchell's latest comments. It's more of a passing league, and you can find a running back for pennies on the dollar. Boy, truer words couldn't be said. That summarized what Robert said. All right, George, what's your parting shot?
And it also echoes what Mel Farr Jr. said, Scott, on many of your Inside the Pigskin shows. Previous to this. Mel's harped about it. Hey, listen, it's a good day. It's a good day in football. The camps are open. The Lions, of course, had great success last year here in Detroit. So now they're not going to live off the reputation, though. Dan Campbell talked to the media today, his first media gathering, and he says, don't look at last year. That was what's got us there. But now he said, we've got to live off work. We don't live off a reputation here. And that's the thing I like about Campbell. You know, he's got that edge about him where he keeps these guys on their toes. They want to play for him. They want to play for the coaching staff. He's got guys that have come back and want to be part of this team. It's a good atmosphere to have. I think they're rated like, what did I see? 17 or 18% chance of reaching the Super Bowl. Of course, these are the so-called analytics that ESPN runs through the computer. But that being said, it's going to be a tough grind. Every season is tough, no question about it. There's no guarantees in the National Football League. We all know that. From year to year, you could go from being a Cinderella team to missing the playoffs the next year. So, but this is a team that obviously has the respect around the league now. 5 primetime national television appearances coming up. But all that being said, you know, they've signed the big guys to contracts, St. Brown and Goff and Sewell. And so now they've got a good team, a good veteran team, plus the young players as well. So it's fun to be a Detroiter. It's fun to be a Lions fan. And yes, the excitement is starting all over again in all the camps, not just in Detroit, but across the entire National Football League.
All right, I have a parting shot, and I usually don't talk about tennis, but I will this time. Okay.
Okay.
Cocogauff became the first tennis player to serve as U.S. flag bearer. Gauff is the youngest Olympic opening ceremony flag bearer in U.S. history, and she is the current reigning U.S. Open champion and is set to make her Olympic debut. Hats off to Coco. This young lady has done a lot for the game of tennis, and to see that the Olympic platform is going to finally pay respect to a young lady like her to carry the flag, more power to you. I mean, I know the Olympics are a few days away, but when I saw this one, and there was another one we talked about yesterday about Simone Biles and Jonathan Owens, we saw that story where he's going to be able to leave the Bears camp to see Simone Biles. These are two great stories that I want to bring to light as we get set for the Olympics. But Cocogauff, once again, I want to repeat this, to become the first tennis player to serve as U.S. flag bearer. Gauff is the youngest Olympic opening ceremony flag bearer in U.S. history. That's unbelievable. She is the current reigning U.S. Open champion and is set to make her Olympic debut. Candy, I think she's from Delray Beach, Florida, too, isn't she?
She is.
So she's a local kid. All right, Candy, you have the last word on the parting shots. Welcome, Ralph Williams.
So my parting shot has to do with, of course, none other, we're talking football, my Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have a 66-year tradition that happens at training camp. It's where so if you know anything about Lambeau, their locker room is in Lambeau, but their practice field is across the parking lot and across the street. Okay, so they go from Lambeau over to their training facility. When they do that, it involves the tradition of riding bikes to training camp, which involves players riding kids' bikes to and from practice on American Family Insurance Dream Drive is what they call it. The tradition is said to have started during the Vince Lombardi era and dates back to at least 1958. Some say it's a great way for the team to bond and practice together. The tradition has become a celebration with bikes decorated in green and gold and young fans holding helmets while offering players a ride. Some players ride the same bike each day, which can create special bonds between the players and fans. Fans can also try to get the players' attentions by decorating signs. They can bring balls to there and sometimes with practice. But I think it's a good way, and it's just a cute way for the Packers to interact with young fans. And not old fans, but young fans that, really idolize and are at a stage in their life where they like to. So they get up there, they get their bike up there, they decorate it. Then a lot of them have the little spokes in the back so they can stand on the wheels behind while the player pedals to the actual practice field. And I think it's just a cute tradition that Green Bay has had. And to do it for 66 years, kudos to them for keeping that tradition alive.
There you go. All right. Well, Robert was able to give us his contact information. George, go ahead and do it. Candy will wrap it up with us.
All right. You can find me on the South Florida Tribune. I run right under the Motor City Tribune banner. We can read my columns. At the end of my column, there's a little link to this. Oh, yeah. Candy's got it, and I got it here. It's called Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. My book, which features Ernie Harwell, Ray Lane, George Kell, Frank Beckman, George Blaha, Bud Lynch, Bruce Martin, and Scott Morganroth, among many others. You can also reach me at gicorn@yahoo.com and follow me on Twitter at SanGSports99. And I'm on the 108 Stitches Show and the Sports Exchange and wherever else Scott and Candy need me.
All right, Candy, take us home to the finish line. Robert has a show at 10, but I think we're on pace to end it on time. Go ahead.
The South Florida Tribune Publishing Company sponsored this show, and it published a book last November. It is called Lessons from the Microphone. Look at that. Robert and George both have a copy. Get your copy today. It's available on Amazon, Kindle, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and Google Books. If you see a red subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner by George, that means you didn't subscribe. Please subscribe to our channel. Subscribe to Robert's as well. We appreciate him coming on and supporting us, so we want you to support him and his show as well. You could, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. Monday nights baseball, Tuesday nights football, Wednesday and Thursday nights. You never know what we're going to be talking about, so definitely tune in. Go to our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can read what Scott writes, George writes, all kinds of other people. We have a store on there that you can go to, my pictures. Scott also has a one-on-one interview show. It's on nofilter.net. It's called the Motor City Mad Mal Show. Go check that out. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show, call Scott, 954-304-4941. If you missed any of what I just said, it's been scrolling around the bottom all show long, or you can just rewind and listen to us again. That's it.
All right. Well, and also Twitter/@Tribune South. And we will be off next Wednesday night, but the Sports Exchange will return 2 weeks from tonight. So, meanwhile, it's been great to have Robert Butler on. And yes, Robert, I hope you enjoy the book and you can get a couple of ideas. And I'm glad that you'll pick it up. So for all you folks out there, Candy told you where to get it. Meanwhile, this does conclude this edition of the Sports Exchange. So on behalf of Candy Hebling, George Eichhorn, our guest Robert Butler, the real Sports Scope. My name is Scott Morgan, Roth Motor City Mad Mouth. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next 2 weeks from now on the same station. Good night, everybody, and have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.